Today, we're going to talk about building a profitable business with expert Kevin Salters, who's been in the lawn care business for longer than I've been alive, for 40 plus years, and Joey Coberly, who has a landscaping company, landscaping bookkeeper company with his wife, Megan. So let me bring them onto the program. Kevin's up in Connecticut. Joey's in Pensacola, Florida. What's up, guys?
Good morning.
What's going on?
Oh, it's good to be podcasting with you. And I know you guys got really busy days out there. At least Kevin does. I don't know what you're up to, Joey, but
yeah, we've been slammed, but it's a different type of slammed. I'm not out there doing a million square feet like Kevin is.
Yeah, so Kevin's got to get out there and fertilize some yards today, get a little nitrogen out there and calcium. But I want to dive right into this topic. I have several important questions for you guys. And last night I was talking to a friend of mine who's starting a lawn care business, and he's I want to say he's well off, but he's got money. So it's not like he's starting out of a place of desperation. So he texted me, he's like, Paul, I want to make sure I do everything right. Starting it from scratch, doing it right. He does have some money to back him up so he can start it, debt-free and cash. What's your guys' advice for him on the bookkeeping end, on somebody who's, day one, year one in the lawn care business, and they want to do it the right way? What is your advice?
So can I ask a few questions before we answer?
Yes.
Is he going to be working in the business or on the business?
I didn't ask him that. It is a business down here in Florida. I didn't ask him that, but I'd imagine in the business, honestly, just knowing his work ethic.
All right. Then Joey, you can go first since I cut you off.
Okay. Well, I would say anytime you have money, you still want to go out and get that experience before you start using the money. You don't want to just have, let's say you start off with, heck, I don't even know, $1 million. You don't want to just take over a company if you have no real business experience and just start, thinking that the money is going to save you. You got to go out and get experience for, I don't know, probably 3 to 5 years, and then know exactly how a business is operated. It's much different than working a 9 to 5. You're going to need to know, the marketing side. You're going to need to know the financial side. You're going to need to know the operational side. You're going to know the hiring side. You have to know all these different sides. And so you're going to gain that through experience. And then the money is good as a backstop, so you can easily capitalize your business. You can easily go out and purchase trucks and equipment when you need to. You can hire people without having to let them go because you might hire somebody at the wrong time. You always have that backstop, so it'll make you really comfortable. But I think going out and getting that experience, and the more businesses that you run, you could start acquiring businesses after you've had that initial startup experience. But I do think that startup experience is very crucial to thriving in business. I don't think it's very hard to just start acquiring businesses or start from the top and run them from the top down if you've never actually built one from the ground up. So I'd say everybody, if they're wanting to get into business, they at least need to do that startup phase at least one time.
Yeah, and what I would add to that is, since this gentleman has some money and some revenue behind him, he's obviously done some type of work to incur that money. I think setting up right from the very beginning, talking to a professional to have a proper chart of accounts for your business. So when you're going out for that work and you are bringing revenue in, you know exactly where it's going and how it's going and where it's going to go to once it comes in. So I think one, chart of accounts is going to be very important. And because he has some investment that he can put into it, he's at the perfect stage right away to put in some type of CRM system quickly into that. So that will help both with the monitoring of your clients, but also the financial end and scheduling. You kind of meld it all together, and starting that ground zero is going to be so much easier than implementing it 3 months, 6 months, or a year down the road.
Very well said. And shout outs to our sponsor, Horizon 360. You mentioned CRM. They're actually doing a 7-month free trial of their premium plan, their top plan. You can try it for 7 months if you guys are looking for a CRM. And Horizon 360, they are under the Toro company umbrella. So Toro started a business management software, Horizon 360, and they're offering our listeners with the promo code Paul 7 months off the first 7 months of their best plan. So that's pretty cool.
That's really good. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think it is probably one of the most important tools you can have in your business. Me doing this for 40 plus years, we watched CRM systems actually be implemented and developed, and we actually helped put in some back thought into Aspire years before it's what it is now. When Mark Tipton and Kevin Kehoe created that program, we didn't have much before that. So tracking basically just north of $5 million at the time company via QuickBooks and spreadsheets and Excel was so difficult. We had a full-time person doing that. To now you implement a CRM system that basically can be run from your phone. Super important for even the beginning stages of a lawn care business, turf fertilization company, whichever you are, and especially with this offer, 7 months. I mean, that's just going to train you to be a professional business person, not just a service provider.
Yep. Well, I want to ask you guys, because you help Kevin a lot of people, and Joey, you see a lot of businesses' books. What's the biggest mistakes when it comes to numbers that you notice small business owners make, lawn care business owners make on the finances, on the numbers? What mistakes are you seeing that's being made out there?
Number one, I'd say there's too much hustle culture and revenue chasing and not enough saving up in the beginning to have that backstop that we were just talking about that your friend has, Paul. So I like to see a lot of hustling and grinding in the beginning, but I also like to see some consolidation. What I mean by that is, just sit still for a year after you've, maybe been going out for 3 years when you had a real profitable zone and save up some money so you can always have a backstop to work from. And I think that's super important. And I think in this culture, everybody's always trying to get to the next revenue tier. And that's like the next, that's everybody's goal. I got to double my revenue. I've got to triple my revenue. And there's never like a savings goal or a profit goal or anything like that. And I think we need to focus on the bottom line. And I think that guys need to save up some money in the beginning so that they can grow properly rather than too quickly and run out of steam. So I'd like to see, and I think you, Paul, at Lawn Care Life this year, were talking about how much Brandon Gray resonated with you on having that emergency fund. He was up there harping on that. Dude's got a ton of experience, works with a huge firm. And, I think that was your takeaway from Lawn Care Life. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but just saving up that emergency fund as soon as possible. And it's going to give you, it goes so far. It gives you calm decision-making. That's huge. If you have that backstop, you can go through life more calmly. You can hire when you need to and not have to worry about cutting guys. It just gives you a peace of mind and clarity, and you need peace of mind and clarity when you're growing a company. Otherwise, you're going to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off. So please, guys, stop chasing revenue all the time. I'm not saying I'm not saying not to chase it at all. I'm just saying in the beginning, you definitely got to save up some money so that you can be cool, calm, and collected as you're growing these companies. It's going to take a lot out of you, and you need some of that money as a backstop.
Okay, we'll be right back here. Is the internet back on? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I never lost you.
Okay, you never lost me. You could still see me on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my internet here, long story short, I'm moving next week. The internet here has been not great for a worldwide podcast. So
moving again? Are you still in Sarasota though? Just moving next door or something?
Oh no, big move.
What? Really? I didn't hear about this.
This is a secret, huh? Are we
care to share with the class?
Well, this episode is coming out next Monday, so I'm not moving until next Wednesday. I'll tell you guys off air.
Okay.
But I'm moving. But back to the 2 months. So Brandon Gray, in context of what Joey was preaching, Brandon Gray said for your business, you should have 2 months of operating expenses set aside. And that really convicted me, because at the event, I didn't have that. And I set it as a goal by the end of the year to try to have that build up. And for me, and Joey knows my numbers, but it's over $10,000 a month to run my business, those operating expenses. So that's saving over 20,000, just setting it in an account for peace of mind, like you said, or calmness, if you will. So anyway, that was a big, hairy, audacious goal that I set at Lawn Care Life Conference, and I'm on my way there, but I'm not there yet. And I've never had. I started my business in 2011. Kevin's been doing this since 1985, but I've never had 2 months of business expenses set aside. It's always been running and gunning, and I've never gotten to that place of calmness and saving. So that's why I like having friends like you guys who do have that, to try to pull me up to your level. And Kevin, I know you've been. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and guys don't realize this, but I've seen a lot of books. It gets harder and harder to save that emergency fund the bigger your company gets. Like, I know it sounds weird, but it's so much easier to save it when you have less responsibility. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at is, when you're solo or you got maybe one guy and you're doing 250K or under a year, it's very easy to save up that emergency fund because you don't have a lot. you do have a lot on you, but it's not to the extent of a $1.5 million company trying to become profitable or save up an emergency fund. It's much easier to start like that in the beginning, lay that foundation, and then always make it a habit from then on to always have that OPEX emergency fund saved up. So I think if you make good habits in the beginning, it'll transcend to the next tiers that you're going through.
Yeah, and starting ground level, if we get that money and you literally put that bucket away into a high yield savings account, now we're going to be earning a little bit of interest on there as it grows. So each year, what you're going to be adding to it is going to be a little bit not as painful, let's say, because we are going to have that compounding interest as it grows, which I have mine set up. And Joey and Megan know my numbers and what's hanging in there. And just the recurring revenue from that high yield savings, my goal, like you, Paul, always having goals after talking to Megan and Joey for 3.5 years, was to have the interest in the beginning pay for the fees of the landscaping bookkeeper. And once I hit that goal, then the numbers became to grow bigger and bigger. And then that interest became a different goal of what I would want it to provide within the company. Not that I would spend the money, but I just knew that my security of having Megan and Joey, their services paid for, free and clear already, it's set up. So I think playing that mental game of watching your money grow on purpose becomes very addictive, and you're going to have that habit throughout the rest of your career.
And how do you guys have the discipline or to get that savings going in the first place? Because I'm more back at the beginning level of that, trying to get that thing built up and beefed up. But how did you get that early momentum to get that emergency fund in your business started and be contributing to it and getting to where it's this big mountain avalanche type deal today?
I think what you need to do right away is not buy to the show and glitz that's out there. Buy on purpose, buy at the right times, not be the flashy guy on social media with the most expensive truck equipment, doing the fastest lawns, but being the most efficient in your purchases of equipment and material and efficiency on the jobs, and just have a percentage of that return that comes back from being efficient. Just earmarked one of your buckets that goes over into that bucket. I take joy in saving and not spending. I have no car payments. We are debt free. The business is running very successful on itself, just because I've reduced my overhead, my expenses, and I buy with a purpose. I just don't buy because it's the end of the tax season and there's some type of money left over buy because you have money, but that doesn't always mean that asset is proper for your job. And we see that all the time where accountants will give advice that let's spend that down to save the exposure on taxes. Well, I'd rather take $50,000 and pay 24% tax on it than not have $50,000 that I don't have.
Yep,
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think one of the biggest things, I've worked with a ton of startups, and the biggest thing that guys have to work through in the beginning is realizing that they don't have just a job anymore. They need to learn how to run a business, and a business starts with having goals. So you have to, in a business, you're not going to, you don't. A real savvy businessman doesn't just buy the latest and greatest things. They're buying things that fit into their overall goal. And that's kind of what Kevin's talking about. And you have to learn how to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like a business owner. And a business owner buys very efficiently, and they're not always looking at the biggest and the best thing. It is the way it is. And so there naturally comes some frugality to that, which will therefore help you save. So by having that mindset earlier on in the beginning, I think it becomes easier to save when you realize what you're actually trying to do. If you're actually trying to scale a company, you have to learn to think like a business owner and not like an employee. It's a very, very big mindset shift that a lot of guys, won't even realize they're at until they're at $1 million in revenue.
My next question is
Lost you, Paul.
And hence why he's moving next week. But stay tuned. We'll hear where he's going. I'm excited to see where he's going. Is it going to be East Coast, West Coast? Is it just further south of Florida?
I think he's definitely moving up. It's pretty hot down there.
Yeah, he doesn't like the heat that much, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't handle it. It's already bad enough here in Pensacola. We're all gonna be moving up there to Connecticut.
No, you want it? We're gonna be all 90s next week again. It's humid,
What?
92 degrees. Yep.
That's crazy. I can't tell if he's still in the room. Paul, can you hear us? Well, shoot, we can hold it down. Kevin, tell everybody about your 1,000,000 square foot you did the other day.
So it's been a mind goal of mine to be able to do 1,000,000 square feet of turf, which is a little over 25 acres of fertilization in one day. And the stars aligned with the application I was going to start with, that I put all my sports fields together for one day. And I was able to start at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time in my area. One, because the first field I was on at this one location is lit, and it's lit all just from the parking lot lights all night long, and sunrise was coming. So I started at 4:30 in the morning and moved over to my last sports field around 2 o'clock. I had to go back and reload. And then my wife, Stacy, who's licensed as well, she came out and joined, and we did that facility, which was about 560,000 square feet. The two of us, which made it go a lot faster, which was nice. And we were doing a granular application and a liquid application at the same time, which is a big difference if people are doing fertilization. If you're just doing liquid, your passes have to be very tight, so you have spray over carry. And then if you are doing just granular, you can open up your pattern as long as you're adjusting your spread rate, and you can go a little bit wider. But when you're doing both at the same time, you have to be very accurate with your pattern. So we have foam markers. So I also use Sienna Bluetooth headsets. So they're what the tree companies use. So we're talking the whole time if need be. And we just went out, and she helped me for a good part of the time. And then I just had some other small stuff to finish up at the end. And I think I got home around 5:30 or 6 o'clock. So it was a long day, but when you can knock out 1.1 million square feet in a day and that's off the schedule, it feels good.
Jeez.
Yeah. It was a very profitable day as well. So
yeah, you sent me some of those numbers over.
yeah, that was another big goal of ours, is, try to book out some decent money quickly like that, kind of get caught up on our services and our route, and puts us in a good place for the month of July moving forward for our schedule.
Good stuff. It's a good thing you're Irish.
Yeah, I don't know any better. Hi, Paul.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. We've been holding it down.
The internet here, and again, I'm moving next week because my internet where I live is not properly functioning, so I have to relocate. Well, anyway, if you guys are in the comments, let me know if you can still hear me. I was curious if the stream continued when my internet dropped, or if I have to restart it. So if you guys are watching on YouTube, Klein Lawn Care Snowplow, just give me a quick note to make sure I know if we're still up there on the YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. But I never heard anything of an answer of how many bank accounts you guys have. You follow the Profit First plan. If we could start back there. And okay, Klein says you're good. We're back.
Okay, yeah, I never even heard that question. So Kevin, you want to take that one?
Okay, my question is this. What are your thoughts on the Profit First plan? And personally, you don't necessarily have to give us the account numbers and routing numbers and amounts in your accounts, but how many bank accounts do you have, business-wise, personal-wise, and why? And just show us how you actually run your household and your business, and how many accounts you're using, and how you have that organized and set up. I'm very curious.
Paul, you made a great point of when you said household, because it's a direct correlation of running your house budget to your business budget. So you're going to hopefully have those same habits carry over. If maybe you don't run a house budget, you don't run it very good, and we're going to help you run a business budget, that's going to carry over to your personal life. But they do intermix. Anything in your business, basically everyone that's listening to this podcast, your money that you bring is going to roll over to your personal side almost 100%. Personally, myself, I have 6 bank accounts. And why is that? Yes, Profit First, Michael Michalowicz, 100%. Read the book 100 times, listened to it more times on the turf just to get things over and over again. I've customized my buckets a little different than his book says, and that's only because I have the dedication of having money in accounts, and I'm not worried about taking that money out. So my taxes, my fees for this or that are all set up differently. So I have 3 brick and mortars and 3 online banks. And the reason for that is with the online banks, you can get some very nice high yield savings accounts, money market accounts that give great money return on that money that's in there. So it's actually earning you money, where the brick and mortars nowadays are not really paying you much. But that urgency of still being able to go to a bank and take money out tangibly quickly if you need to, compared electronically having it wired somewhere or to a debit card or something like that. I'm a little old school. I like to be able to go to a bank. We have 2 great banks in town, great managers, know them well. They service me very well, but they are all set up for certain reasons. One of my main brick and mortar, our software, when the payment comes in, all those payments go to that one bank. And then once it comes to there, we distribute them to our other banks. I have another electronic bank that I use completely just for tax and sales tax. So anytime we need to have money set up in there, maybe we'll shift some deposits over there. But when my sales tax come in and our quarterly taxes, all that stuff comes out of that one account. So when Sheila takes a look at that and Megan and Joey see that, they know that basically all those transactions from that one account is just my sales tax stuff. And I do that for my OpEx, my early ordering for next year for purchases. So they're all set up, and Megan and Joey kind of help me comb through those to be properly set up. But I use basically 6 accounts, and our personal is set up the same way. And they're not intermixed because that would be piercing the company veil. But our personal side is set up the same with that budget.
Yeah, so I have 4 bank accounts. I use one a brick and mortar like Kevin does for the business, and then we also use the same one for personal. They're separate, but same bank. And then we have another business that we run through the same bank, and then all of those have. So for the business, we do the profit first system. So we have our income account, and then at the 10th and the 25th, we move over all the money that's come from the income account into OpEx and profit and tax, and then our personal salary. And so we divvy out the Mike Michalowicz way. And then on, like Kevin's talking about, we also use a bank for high interest emergency funds. So we have an emergency fund in our business and our personal. That goes over to a high interest savings account because the brick and mortar doesn't pay that much, like Kevin's also talking about. And then I also have a short-term investment bank, and then I have a long-term investment bank, which is like my Roth and IRA, things like that. And so basically I have it divvied up: long-term investment, short-term investment, emergency fund, high interest, and then the business bank account with the profit first system. My thoughts on profit first. I think it's really good if you start profit first as soon as possible. It's harder to do it the more complexity you get in your business, and not to say you can't do it. It's just more difficult because a lot of guys will start off, doing profit first at $1 million in revenue, and they'll find that they can't really meet what the recommended amounts are that Mike Michalowicz talks about. Whereas if you do it from the beginning, it's easy to build those early habits like we talked about, and start off with that certain profit level and personal salary. That's the ones that really trick people up, is that personal salary, because profit first will stretch you to do as much work that you can do in the beginning yourself. And whereas a lot of times if you don't do profit first, you'll hire prematurely and you'll have a lot more guys. You won't be paying yourself a reasonable salary, and you'll be paying a lot more out in expenses, which, there's a strategy to that too. But the profit first system is going to make you do as much work as possible in the beginning and pay yourself a reasonable salary for that, and then save up that money, like we talked about, that will service your emergency fund from the get-go. So I really like profit first. I've done it for 7 years. We do it in both of our businesses. And anyway, I love Mike Michalowicz's work, all of his books. I think he's a really wise dude. And yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing a little bit about your personal life there. I wanted to thank you again, Kevin. By the way, I have my East Coast, West Coast award here. So Kevin presented this to me at the Lawn Care Life Conference, which is pretty awesome. So I got it. I usually have it sitting on that table back there, but I pulled it up to my desk here to say thanks again.
You're welcome.
That was such a cool moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just if people missed it, I kind of came up with this idea to promote Paul and me being in the industry as long as I have been, and not seeing the growth of the green industry being broadcasted the way it should have been, and something we've always tried. But one, we didn't have the technology back then, and two, a lot of times when you're in the green space, season is on, you're just head down doing your work. Where Paul truly has changed the communication, the availability, the education, the networking of the green space itself, all from having this wild and crazy idea of having a podcast and starting it. It's pretty cool. He had a vision. Mr. Producer helped him along the way, and really, you've put together more people in this industry, Paul. I firmly believe that just having the ability to have a voice talk network and these great functions that you have helped create, you've helped really become bigger because you are there and bringing in other like minds. It's been very important for our growth, and I think it's really just the beginning of the growth of our industry.
Yeah, Paul, I don't think you realize how much of an impact you've made on just getting this community built inside of the green industry. And a lot of these players that are emerging now are kind of building off your example on how you built your podcast and the type of guests that you have on. I know with my podcast, a lot of that was inspired by you, and I think that's what a lot of guys in the podcasting world would say within the green industry. And so I think it's well deserved, and it's very hard to see the ripple effect from all you've done, probably from your perspective, but I think almost anybody in the podcasting world would definitely say you're one of the OGs.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That's very encouraging. It was cool because the three important friends of mine who made all of this happen were in the room when you presented that. Of course, Mr. Producer and John Pajak and Naylor Taliaferro. So really what happened with this podcast, Naylor and I went to a fancy restaurant for breakfast called Waffle House when he came to visit me. And we're just talking, and I was telling Naylor, I was like, I really want to start a podcast, but I don't know. And he's like, dude, you should go for it. And he kind of saw all of this happening, and he really, really encouraged me. So while we were at Waffle House, I was like, well, what would I even name it? And we're just thinking about names, and it's like, well, at the time, our big trade show, which you guys are coming to this year, is called Equip Expo, but it used to be called the Green Industry Expo, GIE, Green Industry Expo. So I forget if Naylor or I say green industry, but it's like, well, green industry podcast. And yeah, just keep it simple. And so that's how we pick up the name. It was about a 15-second conversation. And then Mr. Producer went to bat for me because I was working at a radio station, and on Sundays, nobody was there except me. It was closed. And so they had all these fancy microphones and podcast studio rooms that are soundproof. Like you can hear your heartbeat in these rooms. It's like all the walls it was just epic, but we weren't allowed to use it for personal use. So I asked the manager if I could record my lawn care podcast at the studio, kind of knowing he's going to say no, but I have nothing to lose. So I might as well ask him. And Brian, Mr. Producer, he went to bat for me. And basically it's like, hey, you should let Paul do that. He won't bother anyone. No one will know. And just, so he somehow persuaded the manager to let me use this, $1 million equipment or whatever it was. I mean, the studio is epic. And so Naylor and I went in there and recorded the first episodes in this epic podcast studio. So it sounded really good, and it was awesome. And then from there, for my first year, because I was so broke, I literally couldn't have bought a microphone. So I was using a fancy microphone, and it sounded world class until I could buy scrape together the money to buy my first microphone. And then John Pajak, after Equip that year, he gave me a ride in his truck, and he really kind of encouraged me strongly. He's like, Paul, you got to take this serious. He's like, you have such a gift that no one, you're unique. This is your role. Like, you got to go for this. And John was humongously, we were at the La Quinta Inn, and it was cold, and I was in his truck like, I'm tired, I'm cold, I want to go to bed. And Pajak's like, Paul, you're not taking this serious enough. You got to do this. You got to do this. So they really, Pajak, Naylor, Mr. Producer, they all were so important in those early days. So it was a pretty cool moment for me to get that award, but them being in the room was just really encouraging. And then it's cool to hear stories like you guys are starting a business now, which we can get into, but I was the connecting point. So because I told Kevin about, hey, I just was honest on my podcast. I'm like, this is the bookkeeping company that I use, and they treat me good. So then Kevin's like, well, if Paul uses them, I'll use them. And then you're like, yeah,
Exactly what happened.
they do a good
Yeah,
job. And now you guys.
It's so crazy too. You know, you in your book, I think your first book, Cut That Grass and Make That Cash, you're talking about how you're driving through, was it Idaho or something? And you have like this God voice in your head, and and God says, build it and they will listen, right? Like, if I'm remembering that correctly, you have that Kevin Costner moment. And you just think of all the ripple effects just from starting that podcast. You know, like we're starting this business largely because you started, because you had that vision, and you know, just the ripple effects that our business will have, and all the other hundreds of businesses that are started from your podcast and the encouragement. It's just crazy the amount of lives touched just from, you know, one pivotal moment. And I've had moments like that in my life that has totally changed the trajectory of my life, and it's just awesome seeing the compound effect from just one little key pivotal moment in your life. And I really think that was a godsend moment that you had in your car.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a car; it was a U-Haul. It was August of 2018. My friend Brian Ring in Minnesota offered me a 48-inch commercial lawnmower and a trailer to fit it in. So I flew one-way ticket from Atlanta to Minneapolis, and Brian gave me the mower and the trailer, and then I needed to rent a vehicle to drive it back to Atlanta. So U-Haul had a good deal, so I just rented a cheap U-Haul. And we thought the trailer and the mower would fit in the U-Haul, was the reason I bought the U-Haul. Well, long story short, it missed by like 2 inches. We were like trying to like do every little thing we could, and science and math wasn't on our side. So I ended up just connecting it to the U-Haul. So I had an empty U-Haul with a mower and a trailer connected to it. And I woke up that morning, and I went through Wisconsin, then Illinois, past Chicago, and then I'm like 2 hours south of Chicago now. And I'm driving, and I literally have a vision, and I can see. So a vision's like when you dream at night, you're sleeping, but you don't know you're sleeping. You're thinking it's like real. Well, I was driving down the road, and whatever happened, like dozed off or just whatever happened, I don't even know. But I could see like there was a man in his truck, and I could see like behind him, like I was looking from like behind him, and he was driving his truck, and he was listening to my voice, and I was talking about business. Well, with the radio station I worked at, I only talked about Christian content. So I never talked about business at the radio station. So I was like, this is interesting. He's listening to me talk about business. And then the scene shifted, and I saw a guy who was like, I don't know if he's in Arkansas or where he was, but he was in a shop. You know, there's tools and blades, and it's all messy, and it's just a lawn care shop. You know what I mean? Out in a garage somewhere. And the guy was listening to me talk about business. And there was multiple different scenes like that where I saw men driving their work trucks or in their workshops, and my voice was coming out of the speakers, and they were listening to me talk about business. And then after that, I'm like, you know, looking at the highway again, like in real life. And that's when I heard that little voice, the voice of God, the voice of the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's clear as day said, if you build it, they will listen. And why that was significant is because I think the baseball movie was filmed in Iowa, but I was in Illinois, but it was the same thing. It was just cornfields all around me. And I knew that scene from that movie, that if the guy built a baseball field, these historic baseball players would come and play. And so I knew if I got my voice in this guy's truck and in this guy's shop, they would actually listen to me. And so that's when I told Naylor about it. And he's like, you know, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. Just start a podcast. That's all of that meant. And at the time I was talking myself out of it, because I was like, well, I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, because I'm already, you know, overwhelmed with my lawn business. The radio station, I was working 29 hours a week on a side hustle job that was an hour drive each way. And I was just burning the candle at both ends of the stick, or however that saying goes. So I was like, adding a new thing would make no sense. But Naylor, Mr. Producer, and Payjack are all like, Paul, you got to go for this. And I'm glad that they challenged me, and I'm glad that I did.
And what a great group of guys to push you along and peers. I mean, if nobody has had the chance to attend an event that these gentlemen are at or have met them, I mean, John Pajak, he's a hugger. He hugs your soul. He's got to be one of the most sincere people, and he remembers everyone's name hearing it one time, which is amazing. I got to meet Mr. Producer for the first time, and man, what a calming voice. What you hear when he's on the radio, when you talk to him in person, it's like, oh my gosh, it's the same guy. It's so neat. He's not being fake when he does his ads or his promotions. I mean, that's just him and his voice. And Naylor, I've had some great conversations with and hope to get to know him more as you go a long way. I mean, talking about having a peer group, Paul, that's just behind you and pushing you. And that's typically, anyone that succeeds has a group of mentors behind them as such like that. And what you've done with the Green Industry Podcast and they're doing with their shows is doing that, multiplying bigger and bigger and bigger. And that, like Joey said, that ripple effect, we're all riding that wave, and you've helped and they've helped create all these new jobs and careers and destinies for people just because your voice is out there.
Super encouraging. Well, let's dive into a question here from YouTube. Joey, I'll let you read it if you can see it and you guys can answer it.
This will tie in perfectly.
I mean, read it out loud. This is a
Oh yeah, sorry.
Dead air. We got most people listening on Apple and Spotify. So Joey's silently reading the question.
Oh yeah, my bad. I'm not used to this. All right. What ways have you found best to actually know your numbers and fully utilize that information versus waiting until you're hungry to know there's a problem? Yeah, so that kind of ties into me and Kevin's business that we're starting that you mentioned, Paul, where we try and teach business to people that are just starting to cut grass, right? Like we really try to teach business concepts that aren't taught in school. And so a lot of the stuff, it's not that people are dumb, it's just that they never have been taught this stuff. And so knowing your numbers really ties into knowing the language of business. If you don't understand accounting and business like your profit and loss, your statement of cash flows, a lot of that is just, I think our society is doing you a disservice to not teach you that stuff. It's not that complicated. It's just complicated when it's boring. So it's boring whenever you're sitting there and you have no place to put it in school. But when you actually need it for your business and to better your destiny, it's worth learning about. So I would say learning those numbers as soon as possible is really going to catapult you to success. And so what do I mean by knowing your numbers? Me and Kevin have talked about this on my scaling series on the Joey Coberly show that me and Kevin do weekly. But it's really about knowing your cost of goods, knowing what your gross profit and your profitability is on the bottom line. So you need to know the difference between cost of goods and fixed overhead. That's like the number one thing that you need to know, because it's going to help you set your pricing. So you need to know all your inputs per job, and you need to know all your inputs on the back end. So what I mean by inputs on the job, that's going to be your fuel that you're spending on the job, your labor, and your materials. You need to know all that. And then you also need to know the fixed overhead that will change over time. Like, for example, if you have a rental space, some softwares, some admin costs, stuff that's going to basically remain fixed. Doesn't matter on the job per se, but it's stuff that's just always going to be a cost that you need to know. And so learning those two is really detrimental, or not detrimental. It's really going to help you set your pricing, in which case your pricing is going to help you become profitable, right? So if your pricing's off, your profitability is going to suffer, and then you're never going to be able to save up that emergency fund. You're never going to have the money to scale. And so by not knowing your fixed overhead and your cost of goods, it's really going to have a ripple effect on your bottom line. And so just learning how all that works. Kevin, do you want to speak on that some? Because you really had a transformation on being really deep in the green industry and having a mentor show you all those numbers as you went into more corporate side of a multi-million-dollar lawn care company of which you worked for at Russo. And I really enjoyed talking to you about your transformation of character, going from not knowing anything to this changed my life and helped me start my own business type of deal.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, you said it very well, Joey, is in school, when this is taught to you, it is just going through your head. I got football practice. I need gas on my car, whatever. In school, it's just like, I just want to get through that class. We can take and help the youngest business person to the most moderate business person in different complexities. So if we're in the very beginning, and how I had to learn of just making money and then having to pay bills, it's no different than what you would do at home. When you say, your cost of goods and then your profit coming in, it's not any different than how much am I getting for a paycheck and how much money do I have to spend on groceries, gas, and other things. And boy, I have a little bit left over so I can have a steak dinner this week. That's business in itself. So we can start at that very beginning level and explain your monies that are coming in your business into little buckets such as that to people that are $250 to $500,000 a year, much more complex of, like you said, now I have team members, I have insurance for them, I have financing of this equipment that I bought, and we can get into more detail in that. It's really that starting foundation of just understanding the concept of money. Just because you are an entrepreneur and you are a business sole proprietor LLC, it is not any different than taking your personal paycheck and how much money do I have to allocate it for that week or month to make sure that I have enough, and then maybe a little left over to reward myself.
And also, one of the biggest things that we try and get across to people is when they start out, they're always looking at how much money can I have in my pocket at the end of the year. It's how almost every American thinks is what is my salary? How much can I draw out of the business? And we really want you to start thinking, how can I build generational wealth for myself? And so what that means is you're eventually going to have, when you're growing your company, you're going to have your money work for you. So you're going to be purchasing assets that helps your business with its overall vision. It's not about how much cash you have in your pocket. Your cash is your lifeblood of your business. It's going to help you pay all your obligations and keep your business running. But really, you're going to be purchasing things within your business that makes you money passively. And that's what a business is all about. It's make money while you sleep. And Warren Buffett said, if you don't figure out how to make money while you sleep, you're going to work until you die, which is a huge problem in this industry and any industry in America. So Kevin and I are passionate about teaching business concepts, which means it's not about, I want to have so much money that I can just go on vacation whenever I want and I can, party all day and party all night. It's not about that. It's about building a business that will generationally stand the test of time, and the one that you can have working for you rather than you working for a personal salary your whole life. So I'll see guys at 100K wondering where all their money went 5 years later when they're at $1 million and they don't have any more cash in their pocket, but their business has grown from being basically worthless to now it's worth, let's say $500,000, $800,000 that they could sell, and Kevin will talk about this, where have an exit strategy. You want a place where you can sell your business once you have grown it, but that business has so much what we call equity in it. And that means it has a resale value. Whereas in the beginning, when you just had yourself working in a bunch of random yards, there wasn't much value there. But whenever you get it to $1 million or $2 million or $3 million, that business has a resale value, and it should have profits coming off to help support your lifestyle on top of the salary that you're going to be drawing. So really, we're trying to teach guys to think it's not about my salary. It's about building a vehicle for wealth. And that's what business is all about. It's about making money while you sleep so that you can buy back your time and use your time to serve your community even more. That's really the concepts that we try and teach.
Yeah. If you want, I can add to that is where, when we talk about building that wealth that's going to be generational, either just in your generation or not. I was part of that when I was with Russo, and I learned a lot from Mike, who is an amazing business person, where he took his business that was bringing in that revenue that Joey talked about, and then he found ways to take that revenue, instead of a larger paycheck every month for himself, into investments that would further his career to where now he's sold his business and is retired. And I'll tell you this, the sale price of his business was not what made him wealthy for retirement. It's the investments that he made along the way of owning real estate that the business paid for, having a leasing company that all the trucks were through, a separate business for snow, all these different buckets that we could talk about in the more complex part. But the goal is to use that profit that your business is making to fund that, so it's not coming out of personal money that becomes other businesses that are now bringing the Russo family basically generational wealth as it continues on with his real estate portfolio and other investments he made from the vehicle of profits of his business.
And that profit number is really important, because profit, it gets thrown around a lot in this industry and it's not really well understood. Profit is basically, it's basically your passive income, more or less. So at 100,000, let's say you're at 100,000 in revenue and you're doing 10% profit. That's 10 grand, right? On top of, you should have been paying yourself a salary on top of that. So profit is after you've paid all your expenses, including your personal salary. So let's say that you're at 100 grand and you did 10% profit, which is pretty standard. That's $10,000, not life-changing, right? But if you always have that 10%, when you're at $1 million, that's $100,000 in passive income on top of your salary. And so if you're always focused on that profit, when you do get to where your destination is, you're at 2 or 3 million and you're doing 10% profit, that's $200,000, $300,000 that it's just extra money you can use to either grow your business or take out. And that's the key to success, is that profitability number. And when you start getting those numbers to 15 or 20, that money really makes a huge difference. And but a lot of times, if you're operating at 5% or less, you're really just kind of on borrowed times, because profit can switch from 5 to 10 based on the economy. So you really want to shoot a little higher, because it's not guaranteed money. It's going to be very dependent on just how everything's going. So we always try and focus in on that profit, because that is your key to buying back your time. If you don't have profit above, let's say 8%, you're just always going to be a rat in the wheel. You really are.
What are your guys' thoughts on debt? I know there's terms out there of good debt, bad debt, dangerous debt. What's your philosophies? And personally, do you guys have any debt in your personal dealings and in your business?
So debt, I personally dislike it. And I think it's for a couple of reasons. I love the security of not having something above my head. 2, again, we'll go back to Mike Russo and Russo Lawn and Landscape, where he always expanded when he was busting at the seams and when the money was saved to buy a bigger truck or more trucks or whatever. And we built those budgets and those buckets. We had buckets well before Mike Michalowicz even thought of a book. And really, it was because of the networking and the consultants he paid for that I got the education from, which was amazing. But we were always self-funded within the business, even when we purchased another building next door to expand any of our trucks. So that's not always easy to do. And it's going to take grit and grind. And I know a lot of people are going to want to go out there and be big and fast right away, because they see that on social media, and that seems to be the image. But that social media, remember, they're probably doing more social media than they are doing work. So if you want to build something yourself that's going to be sound, secure, and it's going to continue generating revenue, you want to do that slowly, but you want to do it cautiously. So I don't want someone to go out there and spend $150,000 to do $75,000 worth of business. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You wouldn't take that risk at the casino or on a baseball or basketball game. Now, sometimes debt is necessary because of the situation you're in with some of the financing to have a mower or maybe a bigger trailer or truck. But again, we need to look at those numbers and discuss with you, is that educational piece that you're going to take spending someone else's money and giving them that money? Or is it something that you can wait just a little bit longer and tough it out? And next thing you know, now you have the cash to go in and actually negotiate better and actually wait for a deal, instead of buying at the mercy of needing something immediately and then having the interest rates at dinner. Because anyone can walk into a dealer and buy anything. It's easy. It's fun, but paying for it really stinks. So be careful of the salesman and the approvals that you can get, because that's where we see more people fall into problems, because that perpetual hamster wheel of finance that is due every month is eating into their profits and sometimes just their general revenue.
Yeah, I don't use any debt. We do have a little debt on the house. Our house is almost paid off, but we have like a 2.5% interest rate. So I'm not super crazy on putting extra towards it now that we have our second business that we're working on and putting a lot of money towards the marketing and ad spend and stuff like that. But yeah, we were really planning on paying the house off, and just because, I know how to leverage debt, but it makes for a really peaceful house. And I'm not like I don't know. I'm not somebody that's just trying to get rich. Like, that's not really my motivation. I care very much about my family and our peace of mind and how wealth generation fits into our family. Do I find it more wise to borrow money at 2 or 3% and then use it on some ad spend that's going to generate me, if I have a really good customer acquisition cost, I can really, market the business with borrowed money at a really low rate. Sure, like we know how to do that, but it's more about the philosophical. I just like to not have anything hanging over my head, that I guess kind of Dave Ramsey talks about. So I don't know. It's just how I've chosen to live my life. So, but other than that, we have a mortgage payment. We don't have any car payments or any kind of payments other than that. But yeah, I would say if you are looking to leverage debt, just make sure that you have some business experience first. Don't go take out a big business loan and spend it all on things that may or may not generate you a return. You want to be really calculated with it. So if you're going to borrow money, have some proven strategies and goals that your money has been wisely used before. For example, if you have, if you've really found the honey hole for your marketing strategy and you want to borrow some money and really hit it hard on the marketing side, and it's really generating you a lot of customers and you have the ability to fulfill that with your hiring processes, then absolutely, that's a great use of your time and somebody else's money. But for the most part, to each their own. I'd say for a lot of us married guys out there, largely speaking, it's harder to run a debt-ridden household and have a family. It's easier for a single guy to do, or a single lady, but once you have that family on top of it, it puts a little household stress, I would say, with some of that. So I've chosen not to do it, but to each their own. I know how to do the strategies around it. It's just not personally how I want to live.
Yeah, and the borrower is slave to the lender. So once we borrow money from someone, they're the master and we're the slave until you pay them off. And so that stress, Joey, isn't calculated when people run the math. Borrow at this rate, but you're going to make this rate. They're running just math on paper. They're not actually running emotions that, thank God I'm debt free, but I remember the stress of owing the student loan company. I remember the stress of owing the credit card company. I remember the stress of owing the Internal Revenue Service, the Georgia Department of Revenue, the what was the other one? Oh, the Small Business Association, or whatever the SBA stands for. I owed all of them money, and there was an emotional bondage that I was in, that now that I don't owe them any money, I'm just like, whew, like I feel lighter in my back and in my shoulders. And so, and I'm not making an excuse, but when I was getting into student loan debt and getting into all the debts that I got into, nobody was like warning me of all the negatives to it. It was just like, oh, well, everyone's getting a student loan. Yeah, just fill out this FAFSA thing. Like, okay, And so if I have any influence on anybody listening to the sound of my voice, I would just say, avoid debt at all costs. Maybe a mortgage, like Joey mentioned, would make sense, but other than that, I wouldn't do debt.
And what a lot of people don't factor in as well is, let's say that you are a small business and you're the sole provider for your family, and you decide to leverage some debt. Let's say that something happens to you, or you're just one bad phone call away from messing up your entire family, right? Like if you don't have an emergency fund and you even have found a good use for your money, what happens if you break your leg and you're not able to get out there anymore? So I think that debt is it can be used more wisely if you have more assets and more passive income, definitely. But if you're starting out and something happens to you and you're the sole guy, it's a recipe for disaster. You're just one bad thing away from being penniless.
Shout outs to Canada, my buddy Mike Pletz. I don't know if you remember this, Mike, How to Hardscape. You a while ago, you encouraged me to put the podcast online on YouTube. I don't even remember if you remember that, but that encouragement you gave me. Here we are. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So Mike Pletz in the house from Canada. How to Hardscape. Well, and let me know when you guys have to go, because I had two more questions for you, but I was curious how you're doing on time. I know you have a busy day, Kevin.
No, this is good.
I'm good on time. I can go another hour if you need.
Okay.
Up to Kevin.
Well, my next question is about pricing. I know a lot of folks are undercharging, or they're not even aware that they're undercharging. But what are your philosophies on setting your prices, and any insights you have on that?
Kevin, I'll let you take that one. You got a lot more experience setting Oh, just for green industry specific pricing. I mean, you really do.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys and gals out there, and I'm saying gals because tonight I have my first coaching call with Lawn Care Launch with a female, which I'm excited about because I think ladies in this industry do a phenomenal job. Their attention to detail is so much better than us gentlemen. And two, they're more approachable and customers are much more confident in talking to ladies and comfortably. So I'm excited for that coaching call tonight. But back to the pricing model. Yeah, I think one thing people do right off the rip is they want to charge less than the people that are next to them doing the same work. And they think that they're going to become successful by charging less than the price that was given to them um, from a competitor or a client that is in looking for work. Says, well, this guy said he can do it for $65. Well, I can do it 62.50. Well, how is it that you can do it so much cheaper if you truly don't know your numbers? And two, I want people to build their business on value and service, not so much on price. So if you're constantly going to be selling yourself on price, that's how you're going to be looked at in your industry, in your area, instead of value and service. And there's many other things we can talk about that end of how to create that value and service. But it all goes back to, again, is a man hour rate. So we have to come up with a man hour rate or person hour rate on your crew of what it is going to cost the company, whether it's you and teammates, for that person to go out and actually do the work itself. So once we have that with our fixed expenses that are never going to change no matter what, and then we have some other expenses that can change based on the job itself. And no one puts into consideration the wear and tear on the vehicles, the trailer, the equipment. Yeah, we've spent $100,000 on that, but where is the recouping cost on that? A lot of times they'll forget about that and they'll be just looking at me and Tom's, yeah, we need to make $40 an hour. Okay, so I'm going to charge $55 an hour while I'm out there. Well, we have a lot of other expenses that are involved in this equation that you need to recoup. And if you're doing it for less than your true numbers and expenses, if you want to give charity, there's plenty of charities out there. Donate to them. You'll get a tax write-off. You're not going to get a tax write-off if you're donating to clients that are not paying you what you are worth or what your business is worth. So it all boils down to, have we financed a ton of money? Do we have to recapture that? Am I running lean and mean? Am I efficient? Do I have route density so that I'm in a neighborhood such as mine today? I'm in 8 stops and I will be in one road for 8 stops. That's called route density, where I'm literally going to drive from one house to the next, to the next, to the next. That is going to cut down on my overhead expenses for the day, which is going to increase my profit. And that's just going to be in my back pocket. But when you take all that math and you boil it down, this is where Joey and Megan, myself, and Stephanie can really help bring that true number down to what your hourly rate should be for return on each bidding hour that's out there. And then the systems that I've used for years and learned through Russo and Brightview is how to track those hours so that we can prove the numbers that you've just created are actually profitable. And we can show you how to be either more efficient or how to increase profits by doing more route density, maybe one more person on a crew, or maybe one less person on a crew. But you really need to understand your numbers from the very beginning. And that's the foundation. We talked about that about 15 minutes ago, so that we can build a proper hourly rate and you're not selling yourself on price or selling yourself on service and value.
And I love that, Kevin. I've been in this industry for 6 or 7 years now, and I don't think I've ever seen a company scale being the price guy. You can be the price guy if you're Walmart. Sam Walton had this great idea. If I lowered the prices on everything, I could get twice as many customers in there. And then, it works in certain industries, but do you want to be Walmart or do you want to be Apple? I think everybody knows who they respect more and who has more quality is the Apple product. There's tons of Walmart jokes out there, right? So I think that that we need to focus on quality and customer service, and that's what's going to allow us to charge those higher rates and have pride in our work and to actually fulfill what we say we're going to do. If you're the price guy, it's hard to do what you say you're going to do, because you're dealing with a lot more limited resources, and so that I think that's a great message, though, is just focus on quality, and quality comes at a higher price. It just really does.
That's so good. Well, that's one pain point that I wanted you guys to address is pricing. And from my perspective, the other pain point that this industry has is employees. Finding a good one who's willing to go out and spray fertilizer in the heat or mow grass, or blow leaves in a cold fall day, and the work's not glamorous, like working in an air conditioning building. You're out in the elements and you're doing physical labor, whether it's on the lawn care side, fertilizer side, hardscaping side. It's hard work. So what's your insights into finding a good employee? And also, I want you guys to talk about, how do you do it the right way? If you're just tuning in at the top of the program, I mentioned I have a friend who's just getting into the lawn care industry from another industry. He's got money, but he doesn't, he wants to make sure he hires the right way. How does he do the payroll, and like, what's all of that to actually do it the right way, and not just hand Pookie a little bit of cash at the end of the day? How do you do it the right way?
So I've always focused on character and passion more so than what's on their resume. That's a big one for me. There's a lot of people that are trainable and moldable when they have good character and they're passionate about what they do. But and one of the reasons, and we can talk about this in a second though, one of the reasons we started Lawn Care Launch with, and I invited Kevin along, is Kevin has an extensive history of training and leading people. So a lot of people don't know this that are listening in, but Kevin used to lead over 300 guys for multi-million-dollar lawn care companies. Like he was over an enormous amount of people, and the guy has tremendous leadership qualities and abilities, and able to find and identify talent. And so, Kevin, tell us what you think about you were saying some things that were resonating with me on how you look for potential employees inside of the green industry, whereas a lot of times guys that are just starting out are overlooking these areas.
So I think it's very important to always have your glasses on for looking for teammates that are going to be part of your company. And a perfect example, I was on my last service last night, and there was a landscaping company there doing some very arduous shoveling under a deck, cleaning out bricks, and looks like they're going to do some type of planting underneath. It was 92 degrees and relative humidity of 60-something%, and they were soaked. And I'm driving on this nice $30,000 machine. Sure, I'm hot. But I look at them, and if I wanted to scale and grow, I would have approached them and said, guys, I can show you a path to work smarter and make more money and be more professional in the service compared to what you're doing, seeing that they had the dedication to doing what they're doing. So you should always be looking for teammates, because good workers are working already. Sure, there's times when people lose jobs and certain circumstances where they are in quest, but most of the time a good teammate is already working. Secondly, when you have a teammate or you're interviewing them or want to bring them on, treat them as respect. A lot of times I've been part of businesses where someone needs to be the hierarchy, and it's really, I hate to use the word dictatorship, but it's on that part of that level. When you can bring that down to, this is a team, a basketball team, sure, you're going to have your couple stars in there, the Caitlin Clark, but she's also about the team of passing that ball, of being able and sharing that responsibility within. So when you're out looking for teammates and they come in, spin the interview around. You want them kind of interviewing you. So ask questions that are going to get another question asked of you to see how they do respond. Joey said, when you say, I want to see what their really internal, personal is like, are they good human beings? We know that they can drive a truck or whatever. We know that part because of the resume, but you want to ask the integral questions are going to bring back, are they a fit for my company that's going to help me as a company grow, but something that I can help coach that they can grow too, which is going to help buy back some of my time, because they're going to do something that I'm not going to do anymore.
No, yeah, I love it. I love it. That's good stuff.
Yeah, well, I want you guys to share a little bit about Lawn Care Launch, and what this new endeavor that you have going on, and who you're serving, who you're helping, and how people can connect with that.
So I'm sure a lot of people listening in have heard of Megan and I's company, the Landscaping Bookkeeper, if they've listened to your show for any amount of time. And we're still accepting clients for the Landscaping Bookkeeper, but what we've really come to realize over the last 5 years is how much more people need that can be integrated together. So a lot of times I'll hear, I'm using this marketing company over here, and I'm using this coach over here, and I'm using this, I'm using y'all as the landscaping bookkeeper or whatever. And none of it's actually integrated into one system. And so this new company that we started called Lawn Care Launch is an affordable solution for guys that are under 300,000 in revenue to get foundations laid in financial management, so bookkeeping or accounting, marketing, laying foundations for that, and then laying foundations on the educational side. We've talked about thinking like a business owner rather than an employee. And so what Lawn Care Launch is, I've always wanted to do this since I was pretty young, but bringing together as many people as possible to make one killer product. And so I talked to Megan about 2 years ago. It's been about 2 years in the work, but we were looking for somebody good for marketing because I don't have an extensive history for just knowing how to do all this marketing stuff. I know how to do it more or less from the Landscaping Bookkeeper, but I'm not a marketer per se. So we found this really awesome lady named Stephanie to come alongside, and we merged Landscaping Bookkeeper with Stephanie's marketing company, and then invited Kevin along on the coaching side and the mentorship side to do the coaching aspect. And so Lawn Care Launch is literally financial management, marketing, and mentorship all in one that we can keep the price down on because it's all vertically integrated. So it's all integrated together. We share the same overhead. And I invited Kevin along because Kevin has sold multiple lawn care companies, been a part of it, and he's led teams of over 300 guys, as we alluded to earlier. And the dude just knows how to build teams. And half of growing a lawn care company is building your teams and gaining leads, and then also knowing the educational side, which is the business and financial management side. And so that's what Megan and I can bring to the equation. So basically, we wanted to be integrated with all of our lawn care companies on all the levers that will move the needle in their business. And so it's those three categories. And so that's why we were looking for people to integrate Landscaping Bookkeeper with. And it's like I said, it's super affordable. Our basic package starts off, if you're under 100K, it's only $500 a month to get bookkeeping, marketing foundations, and mentorship all in one. And then if you're 100 to 300K, it costs $700 a month. And we really focused on, yes, we want to be profitable, but we want to make this for the little guy. This is one of the first products for companies that are small. I don't know of any, I was talking to a friend of yours and he was saying how there's no products for people under 300K. And so we built this for the little guy. It's to set you up foundationally in those three categories. And there is a little bit of an initial investment, but we also guarantee all your money back if you're not satisfied in the first 30 days. And we'll go ahead and what we do with that initial investment is it just covers some of your like website. We're going to build a website for you, give you a brand package, give you a financial cleanup so you know all your numbers from the beginning of the year. But we invited Kevin along. We just started this company last month actually, and we invited Kevin along about 6 or 7 months ago, and he was super pumped to come on board with us because he was wanting to get into more of the coaching side. And I was like, why don't you just come coach for us? You're killer at it, And so Kevin, tell us a little bit of the story of joining Lawn Care Launch and why you're passionate about it.
So I joined one because I was asked, and I was so privileged, but I ran the model of Landscaping Bookkeeper, and Paul did as well. So I saw proof of concept of the idea you had because what you guys have done to help me understand my business. Now, you talk about me managing people and being part of all these big companies, which I was. The difference of that compared to owning your own business is completely sideways. I had people that would report to us with all the financial management, CFO, CEO, office manager that would bring reports to me that we could review in a whole on a board meeting and make decisions from that. But when you're now yourself, one person out there doing it, you're great at doing the work, but the reporting part of it was very difficult. And that's when I took Paul's recommendation and came on to Landscaping Bookkeeper, where you guys would set me up with a proper chart of accounts, show me my profit. We could discuss goals together. We could work to those goals. And once those goals were met, we could move on to the next one chronologically in the correct order of owning a business on the way to which my big thing is an exit strategy. And that exit strategy doesn't mean that you're going to sell the business, but that exit strategy could just be you stepping away from the business, and that recurring revenue is coming back into you as your profit or paycheck. while funding other people and helping their families grow and prosper in this country as well. So I look at this as we call it the creator industry that we're creating right now compared to the industrial revolution. I firmly believe that it's us small businesses that are out there serving our clients on people that don't have the skills to offer these services that are going to help bring our economy or our small economies in our area and our family back together. So when I saw that proof of concept and you guys brought that to me, I was excited, not so much because I was going to be coaching or this and that. I saw if I had this available to me when I was 20 something years old or 30 something years old, the three of us probably wouldn't be talking because I would be off to another venture. So being able to help these young businesses out there move up to the next level, to not have to go to the brick and mortar, to provide for themselves, be more business savvy in their whole decisions in life. That's what excited me, that I know there's people out there that want to do this type of work and they can do it very well. And they think that they don't know enough about business. And we can show them very easily by direct correlations of what they've done so far or their personal budget on running a business. And when they want to learn, and I was the same way, they become a sponge. They become infants again of just sucking in all that knowledge because now they have direct cause and effect of what they're doing and the results of it with us confirming behind them that, yes, that's the right direction. And then the growth, I mean, all our customers are just, the growing is amazing on their part.
I'm a millennial, so and Kevin can speak on this on his generation, but my entire life, I've just heard about you're either on the right or you're on the left. And it usually revolves around, we need to take money from the rich and give to the poor, or we just need to let it be a free for all and let the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And, what I would say is what we need to do is put money back into the hands of the people through teaching them how to own businesses. Because right now in this country, nobody knows how to own anything because our school system doesn't teach them how to grow businesses. And when you grow a business, you make wealth for yourself. So we just need to educate more people on how to own these things. And so that's where Lawn Care Launch was born out of, is stop trading your time for a salary and start trading your time to buy back your time in the form of ownership. And so what our company is centered around is teaching you how to own and run a business. And we're going to teach you that through bookkeeping, marketing, and the educational side, which is what Kevin was talking about. But inside of this monthly cost of it, you're either going to be in the $500 or $700 a month category. You get bookkeeping, you get a website built, you get constant communication with your customers. So value-added services, we keep in contact with your customers so that you can, maybe you're doing not just mowing, but you're doing full service lawn care. We can help you with the upselling there. We help you capture Google reviews. We have our own design library where you can purchase yard signs with Stephanie's unique designs. We also do monthly meetings. You get a monthly meeting with an actual person that will go over your reports each month with you. We have tax resources. We work with a phenomenal tax lady. We do cleanups, and then on Kevin's side of things, we do group Q&As every month, so you can kind of one room schoolhouse with us and learn from other people's questions, and you can have your own questions you can bring to us. We do seminars where we bring on group speakers to teach about taxes or when to purchase things, and then we're also building out some courses currently that are also going to be inside of that. And then we have the community side that we're building out. So you get all of that just for $500 a month if you're under 100K. And I'm really, really happy with how it's turned out and how awesome the team is, because everybody on our team has a heart of serving people. It's really about serving people at the end of the day. It's not about, how much money we can make or whatever. Kevin's got a heart of servitude, Stephanie, myself, and Megan. And that's really what the company's built out of, is teaching people how to own things, because it's one of the most, it's literally the reason for half of the problems in this country. People need to learn how to responsibly own assets and generate them and use them to generate more resources for their own personal communities. And so that's what it's all about for Kevin and I.
So good. And Stephanie's there local in Pensacola with you and Megan?
Yeah, she is. She worked for USA Today. And then she ended up leaving to come work for us, and she worked for us for a little while under Landscaping Bookkeeper and did some awesome work, and we were really impressed with her. And then she also had her own business on top of that. We were one of her clients. And we were like, well, what if you merge your business with our business, and then Kevin can merge his business with that business as well. And so it's literally just like a small business merger that we've done in order to bring all our heads together. And it's been really fun. We have monthly meetings with all the owners, and it's just a blast working with these guys.
And the whole crew, Kevin, Megan, Stephanie, Joey, you guys will all be in Louisville this year?
Yep, we have a booth. We have a booth that we purchased. Yeah, we'll be there under Lawn Care Launch. So swing by and say hello. We'd love to meet everybody. And then we'll probably have our podcast set up. Me and Kevin have a podcast called the Joey Coberly Show. And it's really like a long form podcast. Like I wanted to kind of be a little bit of Joe Rogan style. So right now we're doing a 28-hour series on scaling a lawn care company. So go check that out. We have it all mapped out and how to increment. It reads kind of like a book, like it starts from beginning to end. And I think we're on week 20 right now. But and then after that, we're going to be doing some coaching calls for exclusive members inside of Lawn Care Launch. You'll get to be on the podcast, and me and Kevin will be doing a coaching call with you for an hour there. And we're going to post that. And anyway, we're doing some more series. I think our next series is going to be on grass care, because Kevin will talk your head off on grass care. He really knows his stuff on that. So we're going to do a little mini series on that.
Yeah, before you hopped in, he was talking about nitrogen and calcium, and he was nerding out.
It's so fun to listen to. He talks way over my head, but I enjoy it. I learn a lot from him. Oh,
just a fan.
So right now we're actually doing right now you can go on lawncarelaunch.com and you can schedule. We're not going to keep this up. I don't know how long we're going to keep this up, but you can schedule a one-on-one coaching call with Kevin for 30 minutes, and you'll come out with an action plan and clarity after it. So we're doing that for free. Just go on the site, set up a 30-minute phone call with him. And if you like listening to him, and I'm sure you can tell that he knows his stuff, go ahead and just schedule that call. And heck, I mean, it's literally free. So hop on and you'll never look back.
Yeah. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, Mr. Producer should have put the Lawn Care Launch link in the show notes next to the Landscaping Bookkeeper link there. So that should be easy for you guys listening on Spotify or Apple. Just look down in the description of the show notes, and that should be a hyperlink if Mr. Producer did his job.
He does his job. Shout out to him. He does an awesome job.
Kevin could easily charge for this thing. Man knows so much. But I approached him and I was like, what do you think would happen if we put a 30-minute free coaching call on here on the website? And he was just gung-ho, because this man loves to do free coaching calls and is so generous with his time, even though he works like an Irishman, but he's just so generous with his time. So anyway, definitely take advantage of that and hop on there and schedule with Kevin. I'm telling you, you'll learn loads just in 30 minutes.
And my goal for this whole thing is to ask questions and not to give so many answers. I think a lot of times with coaching, coming out with the answer, people have the answers in their mind, and maybe they just need a little bit of confirmation that was the right one, or the light bulb goes on. So I just want people to realize that if we do this half hour, it's not going to be, or I'm going to give you 15 bullet points of what you're going to do next. I think we're going to talk through some situations that's going to help you just make better decisions on that one piece, but also be able to think better on your next choice of decisions as well.
That's good. Is that a fly flying
Yeah.
around?
He's had that fly on him the whole
show.
Like,
At first, I thought it was it's been driving me crazy too. It'll just land on his forehead. He doesn't even flinch.
He don't flinch. I'm like, what an animal.
I'm trying to hide it. Yeah.
I've been watching.
Y'all would have lost me. I would have been on I would have had to turn white noise on and just go get my fly swatter out.
I'm bad aim.
Oh, man.
I bought one of those. I don't know if y'all have seen that, but one of those fly shotguns that shoot salt. Have y'all seen those? Yeah. Anyway, it needs to be a household staple. It looks like an actual shotgun, and you just pump it, and you can light flies up with shrapnel of salt, and it works way better than a fly swatter. So I literally used it up in Atlanta this past weekend when I went up to my brother-in-law's, and they had a fly problem, and I was like, well, get me one of those fly shotguns. And I cleared the whole house. They have like this massive 6-bedroom house. Cleared the whole thing in like 10 minutes. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, it was just it's a load of fun, and we weren't bothered by those flies too long. But I would have been there all day with a fly swatter. It was insane.
I was curious if you guys had any questions for me about Louisville, and this is all your first year going to Equip Expo, correct?
It is, yes.
Yeah, it's my first time. Yeah, and then we just so happened to get a booth the first year too. So we'll be trying to map it all out and get the booth set up all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Did you book your hotels yet, or Airbnbs, or what's your lodging game plan? And y'all driving or flying?
We're still trying to figure out who all's going to figure out. I think we're going to do an Airbnb. I was looking at them. There's still quite a few available up there. I don't know about hotels, but yeah, we don't really know who all is going yet. So just trying to determine like the size that we need. And I think Kevin, you actually already have a hotel, don't you?
We have a hotel reserved, but we're thinking of, well, actually Stacy's looking at Airbnbs as well, because it seems like our clan may be getting a little bit bigger, which is good, which means more of my family will be going, possibly driving there, Paul. So most likely, just for the situation we're in, because Kyle will be coming with us, probably driving. And I am in the market of a mobile office, we'll call it that, one with a steering wheel. And yeah, wintertime is a second business that will be part of. So we have some cool things coming up with that. So that may be the maiden voyage of that. But Paul, you still have your offer for the 50% discount tickets, correct?
Yeah. So Equip Expo, when you register, there's a little box that says promotional code. If you put my name in there, PAUL Paul, your ticket price will drop 50%. So right now they're $30 per ticket. But when you're at the official Equip Expo website and it says promotional code, type in Paul, and then the ticket will go to $15 from $30. If you're listening to this in real time. So yeah, 50% off your tickets, which will be great. And it's crazy because tickets will be, I think, $120 this year at the door. And there's like a little Skyway Bridge thing. And I just stand there and I watch all these people paying $120 in line, and they'll bring like their crews of 4 people or whatever. But my promotional code cuts off the week before the event. So I can't help them. Like, I but if you're a listener of this podcast now, I can help you save 50% off your ticket, because you can activate it now. It's just put in my name when you're getting your tickets, and I'll take it off 50% for sure. But you guys should get free tickets if you have a booth, don't you?
Yeah, there's a few of them, and I'm not so worried about that. I'm just thinking of other people that want.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, if you're even thinking of possibly going, it's worth the investment. It's $15, and if you don't go, take it as a great donation to a great cause of the green industry growing each year, and you don't attend. But, you know, Paul, he's the one that urged me on his show that if you don't book it, you won't go. So last year and last November, I literally bought tickets to go just because I never book it in my calendar. I never do. And I just keep working through. I'm like, you know what? No, the whole week. We're going to Naylor's event from the very beginning.
Oh,
from there. Oh yeah, we're there from Friday till we'll roll in Sunday, and we'll be tearing out on Friday. So we're there for the whole week, for the whole deal. You know, with those tickets, you get a concert. I mean, big and rich. Just a night out for that is worth the $15. So it's worth going. Never mind what 30,000 people go to this thing. It's massive.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, I mean, a lot of people think of it in terms of just like, equipment and looking at some cool stuff like that. But really, these people that you'll meet there, you'll have relationships with them, a lot of them for the rest of your life. And it's super worth it, just networking. And I don't think people realize the power of networking when they've never been to events like this before. Some of these events that I've been to, it's life-changing, just making those connections with other people. And that's what it's all about. So I think that's something that many people that haven't been to these events before don't really think about, that they should absolutely. And once you start making these connections, you kind of catch a little bit of the bug. Like it's amazing seeing some of the faces behind the camera that you've been listening to, or just meeting some of the big players in the industry. It's really motivating. And like I said, those connections will last you a lifetime.
Yeah. In 2017, I went for my first year, and I had seen John Pajak on social media a little bit here and there, and Naylor's YouTube channel was called Lawn Care Rookie at the time, and I had watched him. So I was like starstruck when I saw Naylor for the first time. I mean, we had corresponded in the YouTube comments. Like I would comment on his video and be like, great video, Rook, or whatever. But then, we met in person, and then Pajak, you mentioned earlier, Kevin, he'll give you a big hug, So I got this big grizzly bear giving me a hug. Hey man, nice to meet you. And then Jonathan Potoshnik, the lawn care millionaire. The first time I saw him, he was like by this the booth that he was renting that year, and I was like starstruck. Like it was like a NFL, I don't follow sports the way I used to, but I guess if you like follow the NFL and you saw Patrick Mahomes, you would be like, wow, that's the quarterback of the football team or whatever. Like, but in business, when you have these role models, it's the same. I mean, it's the same butterfly, nervous feelings. And I chickened out. I didn't even say hi to him. Naylor and Pajak were over there, like, mingling, and Pajak's just so good at networking, and that's his wheelhouse, is those kind of live events. I'm more of an introvert in those settings, so I was a little more shy and reserved. But Naylor and Pajak, I mean, they were going for it, and they were mingling with the old lawn care millionaire Jonathan Potoshnik, and I was just sitting there starstruck, like my heart was pounding or whatever. But there's so last year there's 27,000 attendees, and the show has sold out for the 4th year in a row. I just got the email literally yesterday that it's sold out. So what that means is Joey got his booth just in the nick of time, because if you wanted to rent a booth,
thank Kevin for that.
yeah, thanks, Kevin. If you wanted to rent a booth as of July, the trade show sold out 3 months in advance, which is crazy. It's the 6th, I believe, the 6th largest trade show in the United States of America. And to have it all sold out is this ahead of time for exhibitors. Now, of course, attendees is unlimited. They're expecting more than 27,000 this year for another record. They keep breaking the record every year with more signups, but the venue is at the Kentucky Exposition Center. It's humongous place. And then you want to bring comfortable shoes, and then the Big and Rich concert's actually at a different venue. That's downtown Louisville. So Naylor's LCR Summit event is downtown Louisville on Monday and Tuesday in the Galt House conference room there, which is about 6 miles from the Kentucky Exposition Center. Then Tuesday, after Naylor's event, Mitchell Gordy will be having a meetup at Merle's Whiskey Kitchen in downtown Louisville. So I'll definitely plan on going to that. But then after that, there's a place called Churchill Downs, which is where they have the Kentucky Derby, where the horses run around the track. So Equip actually rents out that, like, where the rich celebrities hang out at the Kentucky Derby. They actually rent that out for us on Tuesday night. So you can go to that kickoff party after you go to Mitchell Gordy's meetup at Merle's Whiskey Kitchen at the Churchill Downs. And then the show kicks off on Wednesday at noon in the Kentucky Exposition Center. And that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And by the way, the Kentucky Exposition Center and Churchill Downs are basically less than 1 mile apart. They kind of share a parking lot. They're right there. But then downtown Louisville, where the skyscrapers are and everything, that's where the Big and Rich concert will be on Thursday night. And right before the Big and Rich concert, Naylor's having what he calls the rally. So it's an event. It's sponsored by Railco and a few other companies, Echo, I believe. And so Naylor gets them to buy us all food. So there'll be food and drink there, and then a bunch of folks will just be hanging out before the Big and Rich concert, which is back downtown. So I'll do another episode as we get closer to Louisville. But I'm glad that you guys are coming for the first year, and I know a lot of people are on the fence. And I just want to encourage you, these networking opportunities to get to meet in person are so important. I'd highly recommend going.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
It's something that you and Naylor and Pajak and all these guys have really brought to attention to, so that we have someone to go and talk to. So you're not just going to kick the tires of a new machine. You are going to look for some of the people that you see on social media or some of your peers that have possibly changed your life, that you can go and thank or say hi or introduce yourself to. And that, like Joey said, that's when you start building that family of networking that's just going to propel you so much faster and more solid than you think you ever get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the old saying that your network is your net worth. I love that. I think Naylor actually said, it was the first time I heard that. And it's really good, and it's really true too. Like, you don't really realize the power of a network in your first year business. But I think everybody, 10 years into business would totally agree with that statement.
And there's an actual, I mean, behind Naylor's saying that your network is your net worth, there's an actual Harvard did a study where they would take your 5 closest friends and your income level. So if you're hanging around guys, smoking pot and sitting playing video games, and that's your 5 best friends, eventually you're going to be playing video games and doing, just being I don't, what I'm saying? Like, but if you're hanging around entrepreneurs, and I mean, out of the 27,000 people that are there, almost everyone has a small business in some way, shape, and form. Some are in lawn maintenance, some are in fertilization and weed control, some are, the 1,000 exhibitors. They all have a product or service that they sell to this industry. I mean, everybody there is in business in some way, shape, or form, and you can't help but be surrounded by go-getters like that and not get sparked in your own endeavors. And also, like, you want friends like Pajak and Naylor. They were my friends before I ever had a podcast, before I ever had social media influence or anything. They were just my friends. And it's nice to have like a true friend. It's not your friend just because you have some level of success in some area of life. Someone might be your friend because of that. But they were my friends when I just was a chuck in the truck in all the sense of it. But they, they took a liking to me and I took a liking to them. And here we are 7-8 years later and we're best buds now, but they were my true friends before any business success. I mean, I was actually really struggling when I met both of them, but they took me under their wing. And so those are the kind of friends I want. And that's where I found them.
Remember, you never seen an eagle flying with a pigeon.
That's good. Well, my last question is if you could go back and talk to your younger self, which would be a long time for you, Kevin, but Joey and I,
man,
to talk. Well, no,
he's only Gen X. He's not even a boomer. I just found out.
I say that as a compliment because, I mean, when Y2K happened, Joey, we were little kids and Kevin was already an adult. But anyway, what advice business-wise, financially, would you give younger Kevin, younger Joey, if you could go back and talk to maybe your 20-year-old self?
Right off the rip, good things take time. 100%. I used to try and fast track myself to everything, and it always ends in disaster. And I realized the power of foundations and building things off of foundations. Like in grass, me and Kevin talking about getting the soil right before you try and grow any type of grass, and which is literally the purpose of Lawn Care Launch, getting foundations right in all 3 of those main drivers of your business. That I wasted a lot of time trying to fast track myself in any sort of success, and everything good takes time. I think it's even a biblical principle.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, for myself, I would have started much earlier. So that's why I'm so excited about Lawn Care Launch, is I can help these people that have actually made the conscious decision to go out into business themselves. But I want to just let people know that owning your own business is going to be one of the hardest things you ever do. It is going to require the most amount of work. There's going to be days that you have to work and you don't want to work, but the rewards are going to be monumental if you stay with it. And, there's no such thing as an overnight success. Those overnight successes typically take 10 years. Just no one sees that overnight success of the 10 years that you put in forth. But if you set it up properly, surround yourself with people that you truly care about you and your well-being, you're going to outgrow some friends and networks that you're in right now, because you're going to be going in a different direction, being an entrepreneur or trying to move this business to something bigger. It's okay to outgrow people and to grow into new people. And that's where the networking comes into that. But make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that are smarter and better than you, because you're not going to learn from people that are below you. You're going to learn from people that are above you.
So good.
And the journey is more fun than the destination.
Yeah.
So if you're wishing you were already there, you're kind of missing the point.
That's so good. Well, I appreciate your guys' time today. And if you're looking for a good bookkeeper, I recommend Joey Coberly. I've used him and his wife Megan since 2020. They've been with me as things have been improving and growing and pivots and twists and turns. They've been kind of a rock there to help me. I remember before I bought that Ford F-150 a couple of years ago, Joey's like, I don't think you're quite ready to buy it yet. Why don't you wait? Like you said, good times wait. And then eventually I saved up money and I bought a Ford F-150 in cash, and it felt so awesome. But Joey kind of walks me through those decisions. And then Kevin heard me talking about Joey, and you hired Joey to be your bookkeeper. And how's that been?
It's changed my business. There's no question about it. I mean, the numbers that I have, I knew I could work. I knew I could produce. But again, I was used to having those reports come to me. So now I basically brought in some consultants and some team members that help me make my decision, but then show my numbers and help me make the decisions that I need to make every month.
And then again with Lawn Care Launch, Joey and Kevin are teaming up with Joey's wife, Megan, and then Stephanie for the marketing side and website side. So you get Kevin's 40 plus years of expertise of education to help you. You get Stephanie's excellence with building you a world-class website and marketing and all of that. And then financial management with Joey and Megan. That's called Lawn Care Launch. And the link for that is in Apple and podcast here in the show notes. You can click on that. Is there anything I'm leaving out here that needs addressed?
No, I was just going to add on to what you said, just to give a little more authority to that statement about taking. You mentioned your truck. I actually got that, or Jordan Peterson, who I think a lot of your listeners probably listen to him. He was talking about the number one indicator of success is actually your ability to have delayed gratification. And that was like his big differentiator between those that are successful and those that are unsuccessful. And just to build on your statement about the truck, about waiting and building those proper foundations, I really like that statement because I think that we live in a culture that in America, you can basically get anything that you want at any point, with finance money or just maybe pulling the trigger on something a little faster than you normally would have. But anyway, that's coming from him. So I think that has some weight to it.
Yeah. And I started my business in 2011. So from 2011 to 2020, when I officially hired Megan and Joey, and I'm a paying customer, I pay them every month. They ACH me at the end of the month. And I'm just a regular customer, just like everybody else. But before I hired you, I didn't have anyone kind of overseeing my decisions. I was just willy-nilly making decisions, and they weren't necessarily based off math. And once I brought you guys in, it's been more helpful to have you kind of look and say, hey, I don't think you can afford that truck right now, or it's been very helpful for me to have you guys take a look at my statement of cash flows and my balance sheet and my profit and loss statement and kind of guide me through decisions. It's brought a lot of clarity and peace of mind to me. So it's been awesome working with you guys for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And we do truly want to be a team member and a sounding board in your business. And one cool thing that people don't often realize is that when you do hire us to do bookkeeping or marketing or whatever the case is, we're technically a way for you to go ahead and we're almost like a first hire that you can have. You're eventually going to have that office worker that is doing the bookkeeping, that is doing the marketing, that is doing all these things. And you can kind of a la carte them with us, and we can scale with you and build flawless systems among it. But it's a good way to go ahead and get some exposure to that back office admin without go ahead and having to pay somebody $50K a year. I mean, it's just a way to get your feet wet. And the cool thing is we all have immense experience relative to just hiring somebody off the street to come in and do some office work for you.
Yeah. And it's nice having peace of mind at the end of the year that all my financials are organized. And then it's just a few conversations with Sheila Chaplin, who we pass all the information along to her. And then she files everything with the state of Florida and with the IRS and all of that unfun stuff. but it's all organized and it's orderly and it's proper and it's dotting the I's, crossing the T's. I don't have any stress about that because every month your team, Joey, has been putting all my transactions in the proper categories and all the reports are up to date and everything's organized. And then it's just simple of having a certified financial planner kind of guide me on the best decisions to make with paying taxes appropriately and all of that, investing and the write-offs and all that stuff.
And Sheila is going to be doing a little bit inside of Lawn Care Launch as well for some of the tax advisory services. So we're excited to have her working inside of that too. So you will get a certified financial planner helping you with those things as well.
Yeah. And I think to wrap that all up, and you mentioned it, Paul, of the stress of tax time, that was my biggest stress. It really, really was. And I think it's any small business's biggest stress. Did I do everything right? It's tax time. I have to get this stuff sent off and prepared. having that clean bill of accounts, the profit and loss, cash balance sheet, all that stuff that your tax preparer, or in my case, Sheila, and Paul, you use Sheila as well. That is just a handover. And tax time is still stressful, but not like it was if you're trying to pull receipts out from the glove box and you're looking for this and looking for that. The government's going to get their money. So why not plan and be ahead of it and have a professional system that just makes that whole process so much less stressful, so you can go out and do what you're really good at.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to share, and then I know you guys got to run. Kevin's got a whole bunch of nitrogen to cut out there today, but I feel like Joey and Megan are my cheerleaders. Like, they want to see me win in small business. And the same with Sheila. Like, I made more money in 2024 than I did in 2023. And like, Sheila was so happy, like, you know, I used to work at an accounting firm in Ohio, and I don't want to say everyone was like a number, but they were so big. And it's just like, it wasn't the same. It was just like, I don't know how to explain it. It was too corporate. But it's like, it's nice to know, like, Megan and Joey want to see me succeed, and Sheila wants to see me succeed. And it's kind of like a built-in accountability, like, for me to go get it, you know what I mean? And to make each quarter even better than the previous one. And so it's fun to have folks like Joey and Megan and Sheila Chaplin, you know, on my team, but they want to see me win, and that's contagious.
I mean, that's literally what drives me and Kevin and Megan and Stephanie. Is we want to see everybody succeed. And I want to help people be taught things that they never learned in school or had the opportunity to. And that starts with learning how to build a business and learning how to use that business as an instrument to serve others. That's what it's all about to me. And I really do hope that we can make an enormous impact on helping others bring back wealth and prosperity to their communities. And that's what it's all about for me. And I'm sure the same for Kevin and Stephanie and Megan as well.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for your time. We'll let Kevin go spread that nitrogen and calcium, and I'm going to hit end on the stream. And then real quickly, I'm going to tell you guys where I'm moving to off air.
All right. Sounds good.
So I just hit end stream.